Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Emily and this is how to gain confidence on Instagram and Instagram stories, the Illustrators edition. Now, I've gone through my tips that I've put together and none of them are actually specific to illustrators, but as an illustrator myself, I really want to target that audience because I know what artists are like. We like to upload our work, hide behind our artwork sometimes and not show ourselves. But from what I've learned this year, over the past year, is by showing myself on Instagram stories, inviting people in, showing behind the scenes, it's just transformed my business. It's just crazy what it can do. So I'm hoping by watching this video, I'll give you some of the tools and some of the tips that I've learned over the year. And you might not become a pro straight away, so don't expect that, but hopefully you'll have a little bit of courage to just go for it, and that's what I want from this video. Let's get into it. Let's go through all of my tips and hopefully you can apply them to your Instagram and hopefully you can see some results. So before we get into the actual tips that I'm going to give you, I'll just give you a brief backstory if you don't know. So I've been using Instagram since it launched, I think 2012 or something like that, and my Instagram was a personal page. I just used it to document my time at uni and things like that. It then slowly progressed into more of an art page, so I would just upload drawings that I was doing. I'm not sure when Stories was launched, but as soon as it was launched, I realised this is gonna be powerful. This is gonna be a tool for businesses. I just thought it was brilliant. Now, I was really hesitant to do stories at first because for so long I just uploaded artwork, and now all of a sudden I'm gonna show myself. Maybe people won't want to see that, maybe they'll stop following me. All of these things went through my mind. I would do stories here and there, but I wasn't really getting much engagement on my Instagram at all. Nobody was interacting with me. I kind of just left it. Then I went away and had a baby, and Instagram was not really my priority when I was pregnant. And then once I had my baby, he was about 3 months old, and I thought, if there's going to be any time that I can focus on Instagram and start to bring it back, get some engagement, put some personality to it, it's now, while I have a tiny baby that likes to sleep. So that's what I did. So last May, my baby was 3 months old, I decided I am going to start to design my Instagram feed. I'm going to start showing behind the scenes on Instagram stories, and it's just grown from there. So we're now into the following year, so it's been like 15 months since I started it, and my followers has gone up like 8 times the amount. The engagement is absolutely crazy, and I'm putting it down to showing myself, showing behind the scenes, and inviting people in and getting people to trust me. I think that's a massive part of it, because what I've realised is people buy from people. So if you're an illustrator like me that has an Etsy shop and wants to sell things, by showing yourself on camera and talking about your products and how you make them, you're just instantly building trust. Right, that's my backstory. I really hope you enjoy this video. I hope that the tips are useful, and yes, it takes lots of practice, and if you do all these tips, you're not going to be like a pro at this. It does take practice, but hopefully it just gives you a little bit more courage and yeah, just to go for it. So let's get into the first one. So my first tip is actually, you don't need to talk to the camera straight away on Instagram stories. You know, if you've never done an Instagram story before, doing your first one as a talking to the camera is actually very scary. Even to me, that's like, oh my god, that's so scary. So work your way up to it. I always tell people, right, well, if you don't want to talk to the camera and you don't want to show your face, maybe do a day in the life, but just take photographs around your space and what you get up to. Maybe you could do a time lapse. Time lapses are brilliant because you can set a camera up, hit time lapse, and yeah, you can leave it on for 5 minutes and you'll be moving so fast you won't be conscious of the things you're doing, but it invites people into what you get up to. Then once you've gained some confidence with that, maybe you've done a video of your hand, maybe working on something, you'll start to see people maybe comment and engage with that. It'll build some confidence, and then you can move on to the next thing. Maybe you can show a space and talk, and then eventually you can get to the point where you're doing full Instagram stories where you're just chatting to the camera like it's an old friend. But it all comes with practice and little baby steps. So tip number 2 is please prop up your phone. So it's really easy to just hold your phone and do an Instagram story and talk like this. But there's no doubt that the first few stories you do, you will be nervous. And when you're nervous, you'll shake. So that can look a bit like disorientating. Also, like I do when I'm nervous, is I walk around. So I'll be doing an Instagram story and I'll be doing this and walking around. It's really distracting for the viewer. So what I use is this. I have a little tripod. I'll leave links for these below. And this little adapter on the top for my phone. Like so. Set up your tripod on your desk and you don't need to worry about it. There's a hands-free section on Instagram stories. You can click that and chat. You've got your hands free to do the talking if you're a hands talker like I am, but it will really help your confidence because it's just one less thing you need to worry about. Next up is lighting. Now this kind of depends what you're getting up to. Like I'm stood here filming now next to a window. I personally don't have a really nice lighting setup. I'm really quite basic. So when I do an Instagram story, if I'm just sat still and chatting, I'll either stand here at the window where the lighting is quite nice, or I'll prop you up on my desk and I turn my screen on. That sort of illuminates my face. It's a nice thing to do. Bear that in mind when you're doing Instagram stories. They don't need to have perfect lighting, but if it's really dark, you're not gonna invite people in. Right, this next tip is, I think it's important, but it's less noticeable on Instagram stories than it is, for example, on YouTube. And that is talk to the camera. Now it's really easy when doing an Instagram story to look at yourself. But what I really encourage you to do is to look at the camera. Like I said, on Instagram story, it's not really noticeable. For example, let me show you on this camera. So this is me talking into the camera. This is how you should do it. It's more engaging for the viewer. They feel connected and it's great. Now, if I look at myself, which is up here on a screen, I'm looking at myself, I'm checking I look okay, but I'm losing that focus with the viewer. So make sure when you're looking at your phone, you're looking at the camera. It's such an easy little move with your eye, but yeah, it will make all the difference, I promise. So my next tip is filters. Instagram stories is full of filters. Some of them are so fun and so interactive. I think they're wonderful. If you want to use filters, go for it. Now, this is what I think. If you want to use a filter, try and limit the amount you use. And don't use a filter to hide you. Some people I see using filters with maybe glasses on or things going on their face, and I think it's to distract from the person, which defeats the whole point. The whole point of doing this is to show people the real you and interact with your viewers. So yes, have fun with filters, play with filters, they're so much fun, but if you're using them to hide you, then that's sad. Please don't do that. So you're all set up, you have your little tripod setup thing going, you've got good lighting, filter if you want to have a filter but don't hide your face. Now what are you going to talk about? Now this is where it gets scary, and what I say is have a plan, have a reason to go on Instagram stories, but don't script anything. Now I can always tell, I don't know about you, when somebody has literally written a script and it's next to their phone and they're reading off it. It's so obvious. And I just think Instagram stories is about talking, like being yourself. So yeah, as soon as you, like, can you imagine if I was talking like this and then all of a sudden started reading a script? You would so tell the difference. So what I do when I do an Instagram story, I think to myself before, right, what's the purpose for this Instagram story? What am I getting across? What am I wanting to show? Sometimes I'll do a couple of practice runs. It's fine. It's better to do a few practice runs and get the words into your head and then do one properly than to come on, be fumbly, chat for about 10 or 11 stories, which people are probably going to skip, you know? So have a plan, have a reason for doing an Instagram story, but don't script it and don't read from a script. So you've recorded your story and it sounds great and you're really happy with it, the lighting's good, you're feeling confident. Firstly, well done. But now, before you hit publish, please, 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 please caption your story. Now, I do this for every single story ever. So if you're talking to the camera, before you hit publish, just watch it back and type what you're saying. So there's multiple reasons to do this. The main ones for me are, one, there will be people that cannot have sound on when watching stories. And if you don't have captions, they're just not going to look, they're just going to skip straight past. Whereas if you've got captions there explaining exactly what you're saying, it's easy, it's accessible to everybody. And also the amount of messages from people that say to me, thank you so much for adding captions, I'm hard of hearing or I'm deaf, and you're really including me in your artwork and behind the scenes. Well, as soon as I get messages like that, I just think it is worth that extra 30 seconds to write down what you're saying. So many people ask me if there are apps that do it. I personally don't, I've never tried. I just spend the time to watch it back and type in what I've said. So another great thing about Instagram stories is it has so many features that you can add to the story that make it really interactive for your viewers. So I really encourage you to play around with the question feature. I use that one a lot. Polls. The countdown feature is brilliant, so if you're wanting to launch a product, set a countdown, people can save that, and then yeah, it's so good, and there's so many elements on there that you can try out. I have to say, when I first started using them, for example, I would do the question box, and I remember last year I did an illustration of some biscuits and I put it up on Instagram stories, and I put a question box saying, what's your favourite biscuit? in the hopes of just drumming up some engagement. After 24 hours I had one reply from my partner telling me that he liked custard creams. So what I'm saying is, you might not have loads of people like interact with you at first. It takes time to build it up, and don't be discouraged if nobody takes part. But if one person answers, then share that and talk about it. It'll encourage more people to take part. But yeah, it's definitely been a process over the year of gaining engagement with those kind of things, but they are so fun. So my 9th tip is, and please listen carefully, your videos don't need to be perfect. You can mess up, it can go wrong, the lighting might not be great, you might have a shaky arm, but you know what? I see stories as the raw, real behind the scenes that's not polished. If you want nice, polished, beautiful imagery, go to my feed. But if you want the real me, just chatting, then come to stories. And I feel like sometimes people worry about being perfect. They're missing out on such an amazing tool, which stories is. Your first few videos will not be perfect. You know what? None of your videos will be perfect. They never are. If you put off using stories because you're worried they're not going to be perfect, you're wasting time. You might as well just start now and get some practice in and gain some confidence, and then in a few weeks' time, a few months, you will feel like a pro and it'll feel natural to do it, just like it is for me now. And that brings me to my final tip of this video, and that is practice. Practice makes, not perfect, because you don't need it to be perfect, but practice makes it easier. It's easier. I now don't even think twice about turning my camera on Instagram stories and chatting for a couple of stories and interacting with my followers. And so that's all you need to do, is just start now, give it a try. You don't have to talk straight away, like I said earlier. Maybe just photograph things and caption them. So there we are. Those are my very basic 10 top tips for gaining a little bit more confidence on Instagram stories. I really hope it's been helpful, and I've probably got more, and as soon as I finish this video I'll be like, didn't tell them that. So there might be a part 2 to this. If you've got any questions or any more tips you want to give, please leave them in the comments below. I can't wait to read them. I also can't wait to see your stories. So if you're feeling brave and you're going to start doing Instagram stories, or even just posting a picture of yourself on Instagram and let people see who is behind the artwork, please let me know. I'd love to see. I would love to support you. Yeah, have so much fun. Instagram should be fun. It should be enjoyable to use and not stressful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.